So just let me, yeah, so it started to record. So let me just tell you one thing, all of you. What happens at times is the recording if by chance I am not the first person to join, then the recording, the recorded video that lands up in completely, what I see, the Google Drive of a random person. It is not the first person who joins somehow. If I join as the first, then it comes to me. But if I don't join, then it is to anyone. It just picks up randomly, I think. So in that case, what we found out with Shangita the other day is that you need to grant me ownership of the video. Because if you do not grant me ownership and just make me editor, the problem is that I cannot move the video to the class folder. So ownership is something that needs to be given. So when you share the video with me, just make me owner. Okay. So hopefully that is clear. Is my voice breaking? Sagar is saying, "Oh man, hello. Can you hear? Can you uh, hear me properly, everyone, or is it Sagar's issue?" Okay. So Hitesh says it's fine. So then, Sagar, maybe you can get out and come in again. Okay. So let us start. Let me share my screen. So where were we last day? We were basically on the Drude model. We had this very nice discussion on whether the Drude model is adequate in ensuring that electrons don't fly away from the surface. And I think what we concluded at the end was that this, any local effects of non-balanced forces is unlikely to change the Drude model, but it's also a fact that we do not, at the time when Drude made the model, it was clear that people were not aware of any different, reactions of, any different properties of surface electrons and all that. So therefore, that was not there. But what we did agree at the end was that we need to, uh, of course, slightly below the surface, the basic assumption of the Drude model that there are we have a sort of a non-interacting electron gas, collisionless, very important, collisionless electron gas, but there are, of course, collisions with ions, which is the reason. Oh God, is there a problem again? Sakshi says that I am not audible. Is this a problem for everybody? Yeah.
Sir, it's fine
So
for
it's fine
me.
for me.
Okay. Then again, Sakshi, it's your problem. I think there's an internet issue today. Anyway, so let's start. Where will be Microsoft Whiteboard? Let me share. Hide. So we had ended the last day by So what is the Drude model? It is nothing but the Lorentz model for bound electrons, with the only difference being that we consider the electrons do not have any restoring force, or they do not have a natural frequency. So as we wrote down, just consider the electrons with the springs that was attached to them in the Lorentz model clipped off. The springs are clipped off, and we have, however, a damping which is most uh, likely attributed to the collisions with the ions, which causes. So what we saw is that the velocity of the electrons get exponentially damped, so that they cannot, continue. The velocity does not keep on increasing, so that they can actually, fly away or something. But it gets damped, and that cycle sort of keeps on repeating probably. So, what we saw was we actually had come to an conclusion that the conductivity that we have is actually it's now a complex quantity. So what we wanted to start today's class was trying to understand what was the meaning of this conductivity being a complex quantity. Okay, so what we're trying to say is understand essentially why. So can you see my screen properly? Screen is
Yes,
clear.
yes.
Ah, okay. So basically, uh, physical interpretation of imaginary sigma. This is what we need to understand. Okay. So what is our equation? Our equation of motion is nothing but x double dot plus gamma x dot equals minus E by E m capital E, right? And we have your J as minus N E x dot. Gamma, we will come to a term later on. But so now, if I just multiply this by minus NE, if I just multiply, let me put an equation 1. So now think of it. If I want to write this equation in terms of the charge, this current flow, that is J, current density, then I can just multiply 1 by NE, and then I will get what? This will become minus NEX double dot. So basically, I will get something like minus, if I divide by that NE by M, I will essentially get something like, sorry, not this will be minus, uh, minus, so this is NEM by NEM sigma naught equal to minus n square by m e. N by m. So what have I done? Wait, so I think we need to multiply by, I think just by this n by m. N by m. Okay. Actually, I don't write to, maybe I don't need to write
Sir, how
this.
did you write that sigma naught?
Yeah, that this one I don't. You can write it, but I don't think I can, because see, because that gamma is basically this. So let me just not write this. I will just write this as gamma itself. You see, we can show that the gamma is that. So let me not write this. Okay, I'll just write this as gamma itself. Okay, so I will write this as 1 by tau later on. Okay, so now if I, this is fine, right? So now if I take divergence, take del dot, or let me take del, take divergence. Did I, so see, my whole point. So what will I get if I take? What is my advantage if I take the divergence? Huh? What is the advantage? What am I trying to do? So gamma, remember, however, is gamma is something like 1 by tau, that we know. Huh? So if I take divergence, what will happen? What am I trying to do here? By the way, this is all minus, so I can make all this plus. Huh? Del dot j moment I write, so these are obviously time and space different, right? So I can, this is 1 by tau del dot j equals ne squared by m del dot e. Huh? Del dot j? Mane? Why did I do del dot j?
Use the continuity
Absolutely.
relation.
Absolutely, right? So I will use continuity equation. That is what I'm trying to get at. Uh, that is what I'm trying to get at. Right. Now, right? So this implies t square rho dt square plus 1 by tau d rho dt is, acha, so this del dot e, I can basically now write rho by epsilon, right? Ne square by epsilon naught m rho, right? The del dot t is rho by epsilon. That is absolutely fine. Fine. Epsilon naught, which essentially means that, अच्छा, there is a, यहाँ पे एक negative sign आएगा. So then I will basically get plus 1 by tau 0 dt plus, what is ne squared by epsilon naught m? Huh? Ne
Plasma
squared.
frequency.
Omega p
Exactly.
squared.
So this is beautiful, right? So what does this tell you? What is this telling you? Huh? What is this telling you? So this is what?
Like a damped oscillator.
Exactly. So this is nothing but, this is basically telling that the charge essentially is having a damped oscillatory nature, right? So basically what we are, the whole, concept of this, this metal exposed to light, what it does physically is that the charges or the electrons, so the charge distribution, now the charge that is sort of induced, and the charge that the net effect of the electric field on the metal is that the charge is now having a damped oscillatory nature. That is the critical understanding. Will have a damped oscillatory nature. And basically we can write, as we saw in the last class, that this sigma, let me again make it a bit smaller, this sigma, what we wrote, what am I writing? Sigma omega is ne square by m gamma minus I omega, which is basically, you can write as ne square by m gamma 1 minus I omega by gamma essentially means this is some sigma 0 1 minus I omega tau. So this part we generally say is sigma 0, and what this sigma 0 essentially means is that when you actually have gamma much greater than omega, typically, so when gamma is much greater than omega, this sigma is basically, this term can be dropped, right? So sigma is sigma 0. Okay, so there is no dispersion then. Okay, there is essentially no dispersion, and it is only when you have this omega, at higher frequencies, you get this kind of a complete solution for this rho or gamma or whatever you say, and it is essentially meaning that the charge has an oscillatory nature, which is basically represented. So there is some kind of amplitude and the phase, which is this. Whenever we have a complex quantity, remember that it is the phase. There is a phase which comes in. So this complex, entity that sigma becomes basically means that we have now the charge distribution that is oscillating, and when we actually have this omega equals omega p square, omega p, we will see, then there is this massive charge oscillation where the entire entity sort of behaves as one, and we shall come to that. Okay, at the moment what we see is that when the moment we have, so the metals basically are represented by a finite conductivity, and we are essentially just writing this, recasting this equation that we wrote, equation of motion, in terms of an equation of motion for the charge. And there you can see this is very interesting. In fact, this is where you can see, right? And in fact, what is beautiful is, so typically what is the value that you ascribe here? What is the value that you ascribe here for a normal damped harmonic oscillator? Huh? What is the value? What do you understand? What is the physical understanding of this term?
The
Natural
natural
frequency.
frequency, like,
So guys, can you actually see how beautiful the physics is? This is actually telling you from here itself, it is wonderfully telling you that the meaning of this plasma frequency omega 0 square is basically omega p square. So this tells you that there is actually a frequency when the entire electron distribution sort of behaves as one, and you are actually preempting this thing called, this phenomenon called the plasmon resonance, right from this model, right? And that is beautiful. I mean, you just recast this equation itself in terms of the charge, the current density. Then what you get is this equation in form of charge, oscillating charge, which basically means that, which with the way it is being cast, it tells you directly that when omega equals omega p, the entire charge distribution resonates as one entity. This is wonderful. This is what is called the plasmon resonance. So now I hope you understand what the physical meaning of this plasmon resonance is, and what the sigma being, imaginary, just means that you actually have oscillations in charge, and you have some amplitude and phase of that. Interestingly, when the excitation frequency is the same as this thing called this plasmon frequency, what you have is the entire body of electrons, they behave as one. And obviously you can sort of maybe intuitively predict the nature of the electric field. Then nature of the electric field, okay, we'll come to that, but can somebody tell me what do you intuitively feel after the discussions that we had earlier about the nature of the electric field when you had omega equals omega p? Any thoughts about that? We'll come to it, but any thoughts what the electric field will be? Huh? Nothing. Complete सन्नाटा छाया हुआ है. Huh? What, everybody is sleeping? Or I am I have I'm talking like a fool in a closed room. Nobody can hear me. Okay, let me at least what you can hear me, right? At least say yes.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
No thoughts. Okay, let me write down this. Optical constants. This part was clear, right? Huh? This part was clear. So we wrote down this. Huh? What? Yes or no? Are
Yes, sir.
uh, one person speaks. I am assuming all 21 people. Okay, without the TAs, I think 19 or 20. All of you understand. If you don't understand, don't blame me. So we had written this earlier. I'm sure nobody verified this, but we had rewritten this as this gamma square and epsilon R2 as I think omega p square gamma by omega square plus gamma square. Okay. Now, very clearly, okay, so let us have an idea of how to find gamma. Okay. Let us just see how to find gamma. So think of this as we just wrote down, right? So very how do we find gamma? So say when gamma is greater m omega, we remember that if your sigma was ne square by m gamma minus I omega, right? So when gamma is greater omega, this basically means that sigma 0. This is what I was telling you. I wrote that expression. Rohan, you were asking, right, how I wrote that. So that was basically from here, right? So gamma we can always write as this is completely fine. So the DC conductivity, as they say, is this expression for gamma we can always write. This always holds. So sigma 0, of course, is only valid, I mean, for gamma much more than omega, when the damping is more than omega. But this as an expression we can always write. So this is why I wrote that, but I wrote that in a bit in advance. Maybe I should not have written. That's why I maintained just gamma. So this is important. Okay. Now suppose I want to find out some regimes, because we always want to find out what, see, I'm an experimentalist and I believe in numbers, I believe in actual phenomena happening, and I really want to find out what is the limit. When I say that gamma is much greater than omega, what are the frequencies are we talking about? What frequencies are we talking about? So how do we estimate gamma? Say, how do I estimate gamma? So the most important, the problematic thing is this n, right? N. This n is number of electrons per meter cube. This is the problematic thing, now. So guys, let me see. Put your thinking hats on. What do you think? How do you think we can estimate n? Now you have to speak. If you don't talk, the class ends here. I'm going to just shut up. How do you think we can estimate n? Think of, suppose I tell you that I'm talking about something, sodium, 23 grams,
Sir,
atomic weight. How can you estimate n?
we know the density of the material, so we can say
Very
that
good,
each
fantastic,
atom.
fantastic, fantastic. Rohan is, wow, Rohan, that's how you. Very good. So what is the first thing you will need? First thing you will need, density density तो ठीक है, but number कैसे आएगा? What is the number function? So you're talking about atomic densities, right? So number of some atoms you बोल ही दिया मैं. Anyway, so you have to find out number of atoms, right? So that means
We can
what?
that can be found from the density times Avogadro number divided by the
Wow,
mass of.
super, very good. वाह वाह, इसको आंसर पता ही है. Fantastic.
So that is because we did this in condensed matter.
Oh, अच्छा. Cheater. तो बाकी सब तो चुप ही है. This is fine. Is it fine?
Yes.
I should
Yes,
probably write this as W, no? A is not good.
so W may be like it will
What should
be
I write as
confused with
atomic
omega.
weight? W is better, ना?
A is fine. A
A.
is fine.
No, Na A इसके लिए मैं बोला. ठीक है. Okay, fine. So, but you can. I mean, somebody, people who have forgotten the condensed matter, they don't remember it as good as Rohan. So you can logically establish this, right? I want to find out number of electrons. So obviously, I want to know the number of atoms, number of free electrons per atom. Okay. So then I basically know the number of atoms, and then I have to just divide by the volume. Basically that. So that is the A row by this thing. This, so A is the Na, of course, is Avogadro's number. Z is the atom. No, Z to atomic number, right? Free electron. So basically, this
That
is
is
the
the number of
atomic number,
valence electrons.
number of
Third,
valence
it
electrons,
is the valence.
right? Rho is obviously the density, and your A is the atomic weight. Atomic weight. Fantastic. This is clear. I mean, the logic should be very clear. Don't just assume, like, because you did it in Gamma or in condensed matter, that should not be the logic. This is very simple. हाँ, just the total number of atoms, हर atom में कितना electron है, you get number of electrons divided by volume. Volume मतलब this thing by rho by mass, basically.
So if you use
And this
simple
is
definition of mole, this is
हाँ
straightforward, I
हाँ हाँ,
guess.
exactly. So this is essentially atoms per mole. Atoms per mole, and 1 mole weighs this A. So that you can find out that very simply, right? Acha, now I'll tell you some numbers. Find out gamma. So sodium, suppose Na.
so sir, this
Consider
is not number of atoms, right? This is already n, means number of
number of
electrons.
electrons. Electrons. Are not atoms. Electrons, obviously. Electrons per meter cube. So consider.
No, you wrote that.
Oh, what did I write?
Yeah,
Right
number of
below n.
atoms.
Huh? Oh, sorry. Oh. My actually that Avogadro was spinning in my head, so I wrote number of atoms. Yes, sorry. So consider Na, which means your A is 23, and I'm giving you this. I don't know how I got this. Z is 10 to the power 6 gram per meter cube. Okay, tell me how much is this thing N. So tell me gamma, or first N. Calculate and tell me. And obviously your Z for sodium, Z is how much? Free electron, number of electrons, valence electron. How much? Huh? Sodium?
One, sir.
Hydrogen like 1 valence electron. So N is how much? Calculate करके बोलो. How much? Huh? अरे just not exact यार, तो total sum almost equal to बोलो.
2.6 into 10 power 28 is the number of electrons.
Fine, great. अभी find the gamma. हाँ, इसका क्या क्या कांस्टेंट है बोलो. हाँ, क्या क्या है? गामा मतलब m gamma. Do I need to give you anything?
Sir, I think we have to convert into kg per meter cube, right? In that case, it's probably not 10 to the power 28. It's
I
probably 10
no,
to the
it's
power
in n.
28.
No, kg mane it is number. So what is kg?
Sir, I think you have written the
Oh, no.
density
It's okay.
incorrectly.
No.
That is
A is
density, na.
also in gram. Okay, no, sorry.
Oh.
Oh,
Acha, conductivity I have to give you, no?
No, sir, the definition you wrote
Sir, your
gamma,
resistivity
that
here,
is
here.
wrong.
हाँ, इटा क्या
Oh.
क्या है? ओ ये उल्टा. अरे देखा जाए, सिग्मा इज नीचे.
N square by m
हाँ,
sigma.
उल्टा जाता लिखा है एकदम. N square by m sigma. So gamma is n gamma is n square by m sigma naught. अच्छा, sigma naught I am giving you is 5 into the power 7. Maybe it's better to write. Better to write this again. Now find out. This is also RA, dude. What? Sigma naught is 5 into. Okay, so then how much? E squared mane 1.6 to the power minus 19. So this is like 2.56 10 to the power minus 38. Mass of electron कितना है? 9 point something, no?
Sir, 1.46 into 10 to the power 13 is the answer.
Huh? Oh, अरे बाप रे, इसका आंसर ही मिल गया. Let me write down this. अच्छा, electron mass how much is it? 999, no?
9.1 into 10 to the power
हाँ,
minus 31 kg.
minus 31 into 5 into 10 to the power 7. कितना बोला हितेश?
1.46 into 10 to the power 13.
So basically of the order of 10 to the power प्लस है या माइनस है?
it should be plus because it
प्लस
involves.
Plus, sir.
हाँ गामा तो या ओके. हाँ, okay. So order of 10 to the power 30. Of course plus, yes, obviously. So then great, right? So this tells you what? That now you have a number. So basically when you have omega, why is this? So basically when you have your omega less than about 10 to the power 13, you have sigma naught is real. Okay, so this is very important, and this is again, these are real numbers. So 10 to the power 13 matlab what? 10 to the power 13 types is, so 10 to the power 12 is what frequency? Oh, by the way, this is radian, huh? So remember that omega mane, it's not just nu, it's 2 pi nu. There's divide by 2 pi. Okay, so basically this is of the order of actually 10 to the power 12, right? Because this is, so then 10 to the power 12 mane what frequency is that? What
Terahertz.
terahertz, exactly. So at terahertz excitation, or I would say below excitation, oh, sigma is real and constant. This is very important. This is the DC, this thing. Okay. Now we will go to the completely other limit. Okay. That is completely the other limit. That is when gamma is, yeah, rather ulta, omega is much more than gamma. Okay. So other limit. Make this smaller. Oh, it's not working again. Okay. Now consider your omega much greater than gamma. So what was our this thing epsilon? Uh, what was that? It was basically epsilon r1 was what was it? 1 minus something. 1 minus omega p square, omega square plus gamma square, and epsilon r2 was omega p square gamma by omega square plus gamma square into omega. Okay, right. Okay. So then when you have this, basically then you have omega epsilon r1 is and epsilon r2 is nothing but omega p square gamma by omega cube, right? Acha. Now comes the interesting cases. Interesting case. What happens when omega p equal to omega? What happens? Huh? What happens when
Epsilon R1 is 0.
and this means what did we study in the last case?
Electric field would be like not
By
transverse,
the way,
longitudinal.
acha, one thing that is clear is this also epsilon r2 tends to 0 for large omega. This is also clear. Come again, Chitudev. So epsilon r tends to 0 means
Longitudinal
exactly
electric fields.
field is longitudinal, right? And again, now if we consider the this thing, and this is what is nothing but the plasma oscillation. Okay, and if we now think in terms of that, so we just now learned that the charge sort of oscillates, right? So just think of it. If you know that, so basically we have this expression for sigma, that it is like ne square by m gamma minus I omega, and for omega much greater than gamma, this means sigma is ne square by just I can write this super I m omega, which means it is purely imaginary. Acha. So you remember that when we what was the what was the time variation of the charge? What was we wrote down this thing of how the charge, the first thing that we did when we studied optics of metals. What was the time variation of charge density? Huh? When we have wrote
Rho
down this
naught
thing?
e to the power minus t by tau.
Exactly. Basically, if you think of it, it was this. Huh? Was it not this? Tau was basically this, right? Huh? Sigma by epsilon, we wrote that one, no? If you remember the time constant. Very simple, right? Just see the, we did it in the optics of metals. Remember, no? This was just that, when we wrote how the charge sort of should decay for a metal,
Yes, sir.
right? So then very nice, right? So what we see here, so see, I am just trying to show you how everything is linked. So this means what? At your omega equal to omega p, you have, or rather, not rather, sorry. Sorry. I should not write this. At omega much greater than gamma, we basically have rho t is rho naught e to the minus n e square by I m or omega epsilon naught, right? T, है ना? So this is nothing but, what is that, n square m epsilon? Huh? N square m epsilon is, है ना? Right? Correct? So then what happens at this thing? See how things are fantastically just panning out. What was here? No. Oh, means that, so that basically is saying that the electrons oscillate at plasma frequency omega p, right? And this is essentially also a, this is a very crucial, this is a longitudinal oscillation, which is very important. Longitudinal oscillation, which means that the electrical field electric field is longitudinal. And now we will just discuss a bit of the physics here. So basically what we are saying here, so that now, well, we are not going to prove any of this, I'm just going to state this, and Hitesh might get upset because I'm not going to prove anything, but basically what we are trying to understand, so this is a consequence, I mean, we are seeing that this happens, right? So physically what is happening, that is what I am trying to discuss here. Okay, so physically what we are trying to say is that somehow there have to exist some kind of long range correlation which are essentially more sort of powerful than the electron Coulomb attraction, I mean in interaction. Basically the two electron sort of Coulomb interaction that happens, that is sort of less important than the fact of the interaction between this one electron and all the electrons together. So it is that every electron is interacting with each other in the same way, which means that the inter-electron Coulomb attraction is getting shielded somehow. So that only means that there is some length scale involved in the process. So this is basically, we say that, I don't know whether you read this in condensed matter, but there is some kind of a, this is typically referred to as the Debye shielding length, which means that if the electron-electron separation is more than this D is greater than this dp or something, a dd or something that we say, d sort of small d and capital D I'm saying. So when the electron-electron distance is kind of greater than this shielding length, then the long-range Coulomb interaction that we have, that somehow is dominating over the two electron, the electron pair, 1 by r square type of interaction that we have. This is very interesting. So therefore, what we can sort of understand, we can draw from this, is that without going into any kind of real mathematics, is that sort of when the electron separation is sort of higher than sort of maybe n cube root of n or something, is it sort of dilute, or they are like the separation is large, that kind of thing, then the one electron is sort of simultaneously acting, interacting with many electrons together, so that the whole electron sea or whatever you say is behaving like one large charge distribution. Okay, that is very crucial. It is like oscillating at some kind of the frequency given by omega p, and that again, as we said, was the resonance frequency that we had, where so it's like there is a common mode, there is a normal mode of the electrons. And so we are trying to say, what is the meaning of this normal mode? When the normal mode is what all the electrons that will vibrate or will oscillate with, it obviously means there has to be a long range interaction. Can you say this? Can you see this? We just saw from that derivation that electrons are, the solution, there is a resonance frequency omega 0 square, which was nothing but omega p square. And we are seeing from here very simply that rho is oscillating itself at that omega p, which means that the resonance frequency is now this omega p, and that means the electrons are behaving in unison, they are behaving like one, which obviously means that the long range Coulomb interaction dominates over the shorter range electron repulsion that we have, or the 2 electron 1 by r square in interaction. So this is kind of a takeaway. Okay, so let me just write it down, and we can, if what you think, we can sort of discuss. So we are basically saying that when electrons are separated by more than this, one electron interacts simultaneously with,
This is not minus, I think, sir. This is n to the power 1/3, I think. Minus.
Obviously. Well, it is like a, but it's like the distance is divided by this thing, na? So the whole thing is 1 meter cube has n, right? So the distance between each, this is the
No,
length, right?
basically
So
what
I'm saying that along a line you have like n to the power 1/3, but the inter-electron distance will be 1 by that, no? If there are n
no,
electrons
this is
in unit length,
no, this is length.
yeah.
Length
What? Sorry?
is n to the power 1/3, I think. Length is
What?
n to the power 1/3, I think, sir.
But it's numbered per unit volume, no? So it's number per unit volume. So the
Because-
distance will be
You know that Fermi wave vector, na, kf
Ha,
square
ha, ha,
equals to 3 pi square, kf cube equals to 3 pi square n. So kf equals to 3 pi square n to the power 1/3. That kind of thing, I think.
but then K should be
And-
dimension of 1 by length, no? K should be the inverse of length, right?
Oh, okay.
Don't you
okay.
think?
I mean, I
K
appreciate them.
is 1 by
Yes,
length
yes, yes.
always, right? It's Fourier space.
2 pi by lambda, yes.
It has to be 2 pi
Mhm.
by lambda, right? So that is where it came from. So this
Yes.
is a nice thing. So did everybody appreciate what Bishwajit just said?
Sir, I'm thinking where you're writing this n power minus 1 by 3. Did we do this somewhere?
No. So basically, we are saying that no. See, this is essentially I'm assuming that there is some kind of a dilute gas actually. Okay, so I'm saying that we just now were assuming that there are the density is n and all that. So then obviously the separation is average. There is like n electrons along a unit length. So the separation is like 1 by that. Okay. Now we are saying that okay, this is again why this is more. Again, I am not directly going into the math as Vishwajit was saying. This is that Fermi length and all. So I don't know. Have you done that?
We did this in Summerfield model.
Yes, sir.
So then you should know, right? That then so basically that interaction length, the distance between electrons has to be lesser than that in order to have the shielding, that Coulomb, the inter-electron Coulomb thing force being shielded. Then you actually have, so that's in K space. So K goes as n 1/3. So the length has to go by 1 by K. Okay. So basically, if I don't see this detail, even if I did not write, what I'm trying to say is that when the electrons are sort of the electron distance also is large. So again, this is a consequence of the fact that all of them are now moving in unison. The fact that you have like a giant electron wave, giant sort of charge wave that is oscillating on the surface. Okay, or on the
Are you comparing this with de Broglie wavelength? So if we have greater than de Broglie, then
No,
it will...
de Broglie comes in quantum mechanics, right? This is not
No,
really
no.
that.
I'm saying that if it is greater than that, then it can behave like
Something in the sense that no, see, de Broglie is something where you go to the quantum limit and all that. Okay, so this is something where I'm saying that there is. So let me just write down the whole thing. Then maybe we can do and sort of get this in better perspective. So what I'm trying to say is that simultaneously with many, I should probably not say all, at least like many, simultaneously with many electrons together, and basically the charges now move collectively and shield out the inverse square field due to two electrons. So basically this is some Debye shielding length, and what I'm saying is for d greater than dt is some d d greater than dt, electrons move collectively. This is what I'm trying to say. Okay, let us just not completely write in this horribly constructed manner. Okay, yeah. So now tell me what you feel about this? So what I'm trying to say again, as so see, I am trying to kind of build the physics that is responsible for this behavior. Okay, from the model that we solved, we are essentially getting the fact that when the moment we incorporate sigma into the problem, then the Lorentz model, which we basically modify a bit to get the Drude model, that actually now becomes something like an harmonic oscillator model, but with the charge now replaced by the displacement. It's the charge which is behaving as some kind of a bound harmonic oscillator. And when you come with a particular frequency, then all the sort of the charge sort of behaves as one. And if I now say that these are non-interacting electrons, then it's like the whole electron C sort of behaves as one. Because very crucially, we have to remember that we are not assuming electron-electron interaction. And the only way that this can hold, so remember, this is what we wrote down is just for one charge. The only way that we can get this holding for the entire electron C or whatever you say is if there is absolutely no interaction between two electrons, which means that Coulomb interaction of two electrons, 1 by r square interaction, is somehow shielded away. We have a long range Coulomb interaction now happening, so that all electrons are identical, all of them are moving with this frequency omega p. And there I basically have drawn this connection with that Fermi distance and all, where we say that the distance between the electrons has to be, so if you just argue logically, you know that they cannot be too close to each other, so they are dilute. So I'm saying that they are sort of higher, the inter-electron separation is sort of higher than the 1 by n root of cube root of n, because there are n electrons per unit volume, which means there are 1 n to the power 1 say electrons per unit length, which means the inter-electron gap is around of the order of 1 by n to the power 1/3, which is n minus 1/3. I'm saying that they are even lower than that, so that they are not sort of even interacting in terms of the 1 by r square Coulomb interaction. Okay, so now any questions on this? This is an important concept, very, very interesting concept.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you explain that that the reason for this n to the power minus 1 by 3, you invoked some of the results from the Summerfield model, which is
Some of the
essentially based
results,
on,
I'm basically, I mean,
but then
yeah,
you
we
said
can
you're
say that.
not
Yeah,
going
okay.
into the quantum regime. So,
Ha,
but the
yeah.
Summerfield
No,
model
No,
is based on
Summerfield model.
quantum
No,
regime.
Summerfield
So I'm
model is
not sure,
not
like,
fully quantum.
Yeah,
where is the
it's a semi-classical thing, right?
you were like
Yes.
the truth is classical. It has nothing to
Yeah.
do with the
So
quantum
okay, so
mechanical.
that Hitesh has a right good point. So what I'm saying, let me write down. So quantum mechanically, what we are saying, we are basically, let me just write. This is an interesting point. Right. We are basically talking about the creation of a plasmon. Let me write this in caps. Okay. With energy h cross omega p and lifetime. Lifetime, it typically says, so lifetime is essentially 1 by gamma. Okay. So this is what we are quantum mechanically, this sort of translates into this. Okay. So that is again, by the way, this is probably 2 by gamma, no? Like I think there is a gamma by 2 h cross omega by Is there a 2 by anyway? Yeah, I don't think that's important, but of the order of gamma, lifetime of the order of 1 by gamma. Okay. So what you are saying is that again, if you go by that, this, I mean, anyway, Sommerfeld is a semi-classical model, but what we are basically saying, if you again go to make quantum connections, please understand, guys, that this is not a anywhere, nowhere am I claiming that I am trying to go into the quantum domain at all. I'm just saying that parallelly, in parallel, if we think of a quantum connection, then what I'm saying is that this is like okay, what this is saying is that we basically have a plasmon at this kind of frequency where you have, again, if you think of that common mode oscillation, a normal mode, whatever you see, has a particular energy, eigenenergy, omega h cross omega p. When the light comes with that excite with that particular energy h cross omega p, then you basically have a transition where electrons are now into that state, and when they re-emit, I mean, sort of, so when they sort of come down, they emit a plasmon. This is plasmon resonance. Essentially, exciting a plasmon is the quantum analogy is something like this. Okay, so this is one conclusion. We are not, again, we are jumping domains a bit, but this is just giving this story in the quantum way, telling this story the quantum way, if you can sort of think so. Okay.
Okay,
So this,
that is fine. Just one more thing. So, like, can you again, like, how do you account for that 1/3 power?
you broke up, Hitesh. What was that again? How do I what?
How did you get that -1/3 factor?
No, so that, okay, so that basically what we account for. I mean, see, again, I have not done the derivation or things here, but as we say that typically when we are talking about the electron, again, qualitatively, if I want to really explain this, I have to go to the Fermi model, and then that's a completely different ball game. Again, I'm attempting to explain this qualitatively. What I'm trying to say is that normally when you are assuming that the entire electron C is moving as one with one particular frequency, I have to assume that they are not interacting with each other. Okay, which means that the inter electron repulsion, or the 1 by r square repulsion that is there, that is too weak to be considered. So in order for that to happen, the inter electron spacing has to be large. Okay, so that I said, so typically the way we assumed was that n electrons per unit volume, which means that the per unit length you have n to the power 1/3. Is that fine lengthwise? If unit volume is n, then per unit, if I have a linear density, is about 1 by n to the power 1/3. I'm saying that the inter electron distance has to be lower than the typical mean value that you have, because I am this sort of disconnect, or sort of assuming that there is no electron repulsion that is happening. If you went by by in that method, by the Fermi length and all of the electron, then you know that when you go to non-electron the shielding, if you really read this device shielding length, its origin, you will find, of course, that there is the mathematical deduction of that. I have not assumed that. I am giving you a qualitative argument. I am giving a qualitative argument where the general mean spacing along a length is supposed to be in electron separation is of the order of 1 by n to the power 1/3. Okay, I am saying that this is less than that. This has to be less because I need the inter-electron repulsion to be screened out in favor of the long range electron sort of interaction, which happens in order to have all the electrons sort of behaving in unison. Okay, I am not, again, I am not deriving so if you want to really study the device shielding length, you need to go to the Fermi model.
So this Debye shielding means like when we did the Debye model,
Ah.
in which our aim was to get an expression for the specific heat.
Yeah, exactly.
So there, this concept wasn't introduced, and from
Yeah,
what
because
I
there
can
they
see
they do not
here,
talk about this plasmon thing at all. So that is the problem, right? We do not see, these are all originating from the same thing. So if you take a slight diversion, you will end up with this. They are all connected. Okay. So obviously the treatment of, see, the root model, in one way it gives you that. If you just take other, so for the specific heat, you need to just consider other, the mathematical approach is just different. Okay, you
so
invoke
that
other
is fine. They
parameters.
are connected, but like I'm
Huh.
not getting the connection. That's the
No,
main
but the
issue.
connection you don't need to make, right? Why do you need to invoke? Because in order to understand this, we do not need to invoke specific heat. We just do
No,
not need to
not
invoke
the
specific
specific,
heat at all. And
not
for
the
specific
specific.
heat, you don't want to invoke this. I am
No,
just
it's just
making a claim
mentioning.
that this is an yeah. I'm not deriving anything. This is an example. This is basically just a sort of sort of highlighting the fact that the intellectual separation is large. This is the only thing that I'm highlighting.
Okay,
Okay,
fine.
this is just that. Acha, and the other one that one needs to be also known, that is obviously clear. That is basically for the plasma to be manifested, for plasmon to be manifested. This is very clear. You have manifested strongly. You have to have omega p tau much greater than 1. This is obvious, right? Because omega p, this is t tau is 1 by gamma. So then omega p is obviously much more than gamma, and that is obvious, trivial here, because you know that omega, we are working in the omega much greater than gamma regime, and here omega is equal to omega p. So obviously this holds well. Okay, so we shall just conclude the discussion right now, and that is by just saying just the last part. That is, we are just going to say, effect of the bound electrons, and that is just not too much, very simple. So effect of bound electrons, and that we will just straight use from the our Lorentz model. Just say that this is equal to, this is the final expression where this omega epsilon b is 1 plus, this is the other part that we used, omega pi square, I think it is minus omega square by omega I square minus omega square minus I gamma I omega, right? And therefore obviously you have omega, therefore you have omega epsilon r1 as omega epsilon b minus omega p square by okay, so this you need to verify. I have just written this. Is this correct or not? Yeah, well, this expression you need to verify. I'm not sure. I just have this omega square. Okay. Yeah. This is probably correct. Omega square plus omega square. Is this correct? Bishojit, can you check this? Can you guys just check this once? I think this is correct.
Uh,
This is correct,
okay, here
Arjuna.
you did not take any limit.
Yeah, this is the direct one. So basically, we just need to do this omega squared minus I omega squared. So I think this is, we have an omega square. I think this is correct. I think it's correct, right? Because we have an omega 4 plus omega square, and then omega square here. So omega square, if I take common, I will cancel, and this is, I think, correct. Yes, this is, I think, correct. Yes, right, guys. Do you understand what I did? Right? I just took a conjugate. So omega square minus I omega gamma. So then this will become omega p square, and this is omega square plus omega I. So this is, I think, correct. Yes, I think correct. Yes, right, guys. Do you understand what I did? Right? I just took a conjugate. So omega square minus I omega gamma. So then this will become omega p square omega square, and this is omega square plus omega I omega square omega square gamma square, then omega, and can take omega square common. Oh, this will become, oh, this is
So
correct,
Omega
no?
square
that
plus
should be just
gamma
gamma
square.
square.
Yeah.
What?
Mm.
This is not, this is no,
Yeah.
just gamma square.
Just gamma
Only
square.
gamma square.
Correct. Right. This one, and again for uh, large gamma, you have epsilon r1 is basically epsilon b minus omega p square by omega square. Okay, which tells you that basically your, again, it's clear that for epsilon r1 equal to be zero, obviously we need omega p square by omega square to be equal to epsilon b, which means that omega equal to omega p by root of epsilon b. So these are just these things you need to realize, and you can also see that the resonance frequency. So basically, there is an effective sort of plasma frequency now, which is basically modified by this. So effectively, you can say that this reduces from maybe the very high ultraviolet to UV. Okay, because there is now a root this thing coming in. Okay, so basically just a scaling, a downscaling of the plasma frequency. Okay, and I can tell you, so okay, now just what we will just have a look before we end today, and Monday I don't think we'll take a class, is that you will just this is something which I'll give you for your homework. So this is again for silver, aluminum. Again, this is a thing that I will ask you to do. Let me just make this small. Oh, anyway, so this is again from our friend Boren and Huffman. So, let me just remove this. So this is a nice thing that you see for aluminium, and there are various regimes of this. Oh, it already increases this way. Okay, so can you see this nicely? So this is the entire thing as it varies. So this is the aluminium again, and this is they are changing the photon energy, and you can see that at very low frequencies you have very high reflectance, and then here you have a dip. So this dip is basically some kind of a this dip uh, is, so we can find out, you can sort of again calculate. So this dip essentially happens, I think, because of some kind of a absorption dip. So there's an absorption dip that happens, and that is probably near the resonance. Okay, there is a but then the resonance thing is also, so I will suggest that you just sort, so see, unless you kind of solve, really find out the values of this, solve this, just find out how these things go using the appropriate assumptions. I think it is difficult to sort of just understand this exactly these values, but I think we will leave this as an interesting assignment, where so one can understand that that uh, at low frequencies both n and k are large, but they, of course, at when you go to high frequencies, they keep on decreasing. That is all going by these values, but maybe that deep uh, why is that dip? So I think that is near some kind of. So remember that for the low frequency things.
No, you told us about that.
Huh.
This dip is because of that when the gamma is very large, so the electrons behaves like a bound electron kind of thing.
Yeah. So this is
That's
basically the
why.
bound electron regime. Yeah, that I was trying to just come to. So here, when you have very low frequency, typically you have large damping. So large damping, money you no, but we need to actually see whether. Yeah, exactly. So this, right. So basically, at low frequency, you'll have this epsilon B dominating. But but Vishwajit, we need to actually see it is actually quite high. The reflectance is quite high. So I think what you can see is from here, this dip, basically when you have this large N, happening and this K dipping. So with these, you have this dip also. So I think it's an interplay. So what is important to note, however, is that at low frequency, you have the bound electron contribution dominating. And as you go to higher and higher frequency, you have the metal part dominating. That though is clear. So that, but then I think we should have this as an assignment to just generate this curve. Okay, so these are basically just how all these epsilon dash and epsilon double dash, how they vary with frequency. If you have that, so this is the value of how these vary, and as a result of this, the N and K will also accordingly change. But I think it's useful to sort these out yourselves. So I think, Vishwajit, you guys had done solved this thing, right?
Okay.
I think we had solved this. So I guess we can give you some values, and I think you can plot these out yourselves. So what is clear is that at low frequencies you have this one dominating, at high frequencies you have the plasma part dominating. So that of course we need to probably figure out. So remember, guys, you can all use that approximations for this also, right? So even if the bound electron contribution, you remember that how. So you, I think one can. It is very clear that when omega was very large, N was tending to 1, right? If you think of it, your epsilon R2 goes close to 0, and epsilon R1, that is epsilon R1, I think also becomes, I think both N and K become very low when you go to very high frequencies. Okay. So anyway, so that is the result why you get very low. So what is nice is that you see that the reflectance of metals is definitely not constant. So as you go to this 10 ev level, I think it's very clear that it falls almost close to 0. So metals actually become opaque. Metals actually become opaque at photon energies of around 15, around this 15 ev, and higher than that you actually become opaque. I think that is a massive takeaway. That is a massive takeaway. So you have very high reflectivity, almost up to like 90%, up to around this 10 11 ev, but after that you get this very very sharp dip, sharp sort of lowering. So this is really interesting. So as I said before, again I'm repeating that reflectivity and all that, they are, color also we saw, whatever, these are totally and totally dependent on the frequency. So metals have quite large reflectivity at low frequencies and also up to a certain high frequency. But then beyond a certain frequency, their reflectivity will start falling quite a lot. By the way, can somebody quickly tell me the optical equivalence? So 10 ev means how much frequency in terms of the light, in terms of wavelength and frequency? Somebody do a quick calculation and tell me 10 ev means what frequency? Anybody there who can tell me? 10 ev is where we are seeing the reflectance dip. Huh? Or is that too tough? 10 ev?
No, sir,
Huh.
give me a minute.
This is a very very interesting thing that we need to note. So these dips and these things, I think they are all an interplay of this epsilon double naught and epsilon this thing. And
10 power 6, I think.
10 to the power 6 what?
Hertz.
6, 15. I'm getting 15.
10 to the power 15 hertz. हाँ. Yeah, that makes 10 to the power 6 क्या बोल रहे हो यार? 10 to the megahertz. Megahertz तो ही नहीं सकता.
Sorry, it's 10 power 15.
Good. So this is a very nice thing. So basically metals lose reflectivity at nu greater than 10 to the power 15 hertz. This is really interesting. So 10 to the power 15 hertz, I would say, is around, so C by, this is nu, right? So wavelength will be how much? C by nu, right? 10 to the power 10 to the power 8. So it's about 300 nanometer, I would say, right? Then 15, no. Yeah. C by nu, right? So 10 to the power 8 to 10 to the power minus 7 and 3, yeah, around. Is that correct, guys?
I am getting 120 nanometer.
C by nu 120 कैसे आ रहा है? C is 3 to the power 3 to the power
No,
8.
the frequency is 2.4 into 10 power 15. So lambda
Okay.
is
Okay, whatever. How much did you get again? Tell me exactly, yeah. Rohan?
frequency is
124
2.4,
nanometer.
125.
So this was okay. So maybe I will say that is less than less than 200 nanometers. This is fine, right?
Yes.
Less than 200 nanometers. So this is remarkable. So at deep UV, metals actually become completely opaque. Completely opaque. So 200 nanometer actually is something that excimer lasers do produce. Okay, excimer lasers do produce light at 190 nanometers and all. So you can understand that. So the basic takeaway of all this that I'm doing is nothing of that you see of properties of matter in terms of interaction with light is completely dependent on the light frequency. Whenever you say some property of the material, you have to specify what kind of light frequency you are essentially talking about. That is very, very, very important. That is the concept that I want you guys to retain 5 years from now. That there is dispersion, metals can become opaque, dielectrics can become very highly reflective. So that is why I want you to do, look at, calculate for yourselves actual, reflectivities of, metals. For example, aluminium, we can probably set you as an assignment. Of course, we'll set magnesium oxide, and that we already told you, ionic crystal, so that you can figure out how they typically change with frequency. Like, and these are things that sort of, you don't need to need exact numbers, but just like you should know that 600 nanometers means red, 300 means violet, 500 means greenish blue. Things like a metal, okay, normal reflectivity at visible straight around 95%, as you can see here, more than 90%. Okay, these things should just settle in, and just some ballpark concepts. Big UV dielectrics are transparent, very important. Metals seem to be opaque, or I don't know, transmittivity they have not said. It may be that they are transmitting, because they have just said reflectance. So I think it can be interesting to look at whether they are absorbing or transmitting. That is also very interesting. Okay, that is something which one might actually look at. That is something which is probably quite interesting to look at. But as if I remember, they probably they also become transmitted. Metals also at deep UV, they become probably transmitted. They do not absorb so much. Okay. Okay, so the assignment will come up shortly. We had a longish discussion, but essentially what we will not have, as I said, let me stop sharing this. And okay, I think has it stopped sharing? I think it stopped sharing anyway. No, stop presenting. Yeah. So next time we will start something very deep. That is the Kramer's chronic relationships. And yeah, so we had discussions. So any other questions that you have? The assignment will come in. So this will be a longish assignment, biggish assignment. I'll give you probably 10 days. And yeah, any questions? Further questions? That n to the power 1/3, I probably, maybe we can dig a bit deeper, but I can tell you that this is basically coming from that Debye length scales that you did in the Fermi thing. How those are connected directly, when you did specific heat and all that. But I don't know, a good connection, maybe I would appreciate, maybe you guys, I can say sort of intuitively that this works, that when you actually come up with a, you are assuming that the gap between electrons has to be less in order to screen the uh, Coulomb interaction. That is clear. But then, yeah, the exact number, these are territories which are overlapping, but typically people don't sort of mix them, which probably one can sort of find out things where these things can be interesting. But you can, I hope you can appreciate the fact that at when you have the plasma resonance equal to the, I mean, when you have the plasma resonance, that is omega equal to omega p, you actually have this charge, all oscillating at, the at omega p, and which means that the interactions have to be sort of, there is one big interaction which happens to all of them. They behave as one entity, and therefore you need the gap to be large, and from there we were sort of saying that the gap should be more. So if I find something more interesting, I'll surely share with you. In the meantime, I will request you guys also to typically look at things. Okay. Okay. Any other questions, or we need to? Bolo. Yeah, somebody was, I think, unmuted themselves, I thought, or what?
No, sir, I just wanted to say, okay, I'll look into it.
Okay. 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 So Monday we might probably drop off. I'll let you know by Sunday. Okay. Okay. Then bye for now.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Welcome.